Will everyone please be seated for clear views of the graduates as they process? Please rise at this time. We now declare the 30th Annual Commencement Exercises of the Sussex County Community College open. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem, sung by Wallkill Valley High School's Advanced Choir.
You may all be seated. Thank you so much. Great to have everyone here this evening. Welcome to the 30th graduation exercises of Sussex County Community College. My name is John Connolly. I'm the president of Sussex County Community College. Please allow me to introduce to you today our stage party. Starting from my right and your left is Dean Sherry Fitzgerald, Grand Marshal Professor William Waite, Acting Chief Academic Officer and Interim Executive Vice President Dr. James Baker, Freeholder Director Carl Lazaro, Chair of the Board of Trustees Judge Lorraine Parker, the President of Bloomfield College Richard Laveau, Vice President of Student Services Dr. Kathleen O'Kay, Faculty Speaker Assistant Professor Barbara Bulford, and our student spokesperson, Miss Amelia Macchietto. Every institution of higher education has a history. It has a beginning. Today is the 30th commencement of Sussex County Community College graduates, and I would like to acknowledge Sussex County Community College's very first graduates from 1988. At the time of the graduation, SCCC was a college without walls. As it happens, some of these graduates are here with us tonight, and I would like to have those who are here stand when their name is called. Salve Dimino. Gina Messino, English. Karen Klug, William Todd, Lisa Vetter. It is so appropriate that you are here with us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to present the Honorable Lorraine Parker, the Chair of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Sussex County Community College. Welcome to the students who are graduating. Congratulations to all of you. Welcome to the parents and the family members and the friends who have come to cheer on this wonderful day and this graduation. I also want to acknowledge and introduce my colleagues on the Board of Trustees. Over here, if you would stand, please. These people work hard and long hours to bring the education that you have gotten to today, and we thank you all very publicly today for that. We also welcome and thank the faculty, and we thank the staff who are here today, who have supported you through your education here at the college. Thank you, and welcome again. And next, I would like to introduce Freeholder Director Carl Lazaro.
Well, you finally made it. When I was sitting here thinking about this tonight, I thought, well, I should say thank you to all the people that are here, but I'm sure if I say thank you to everybody, I'll miss somebody. So to the president and the Board of Trustees chairman and to all the board and the faculty and on and on and on, but especially the parents who have supported these youngsters in their quest for education. Thank you all, and thank you all for being here. As I sat here thinking about what I should say today, it suddenly dawned on me, and it did suddenly dawn on me, that 50 years ago this weekend, I graduated. So I share this day with you. I completed graduate school, and I was ready to go out into the world and remake it as it should be. I had been filled with the educanese of the hallowed halls of education, and I was ready to go. It did not take me too long, because I was pretty smart, I got through graduate school, to discover that there's a gap between graduation and the real world. So I thought, what should I say to these youngsters and middle-agers? The real story or the graduation story? Which do you want to hear? Okay, you get the real story. Here we go. Number one, life is not You already figured that out. You notice they shut the mic off on me on that one. Just like childhood, my younger brother could lie better than me, and he always got away with whatever, and I always got caught. The person holding the stone isn't always the one that threw it. Why don't you look at the guy with nothing in his hand? Number two, there are no safe zones in the business world. The water cooler is for drinking, and the copy machine is for making copies, and anything you hear there is probably a lie. Stay away from there. Number three, politics is inherently evil. Now, you don't have to get that excited. Do the best you can with what you've got, because that's all you've got. Contrary to public opinion, money does matter. Everywhere. Number five, money corrupts completely. Everywhere. Number six, money buys happiness. You don't believe it? Look inside your folders, and if there's no diploma in there, you owe somebody money. How many of you smile when you get a check from the IRS? Of course it matters. The boss is always right. You don't believe it? Tell him or her that they're wrong and see what happens. You got to go to work to pay the bills. Every once in a while, you have to take a chance. The risk-reward principle. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Don't be afraid. And number 10, if the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. When I graduated, there were no laptops, there were no cell phones. Facebook was a book with a mirror on it. Hybrid cars didn't exist. My first car was a 1949 blue Studebaker. It was called the Mosquito Killer. I was cordially invited to drive through town and blow my oil fumes around to get rid of the mosquitoes. Shag carpets were the in thing. You got free food on airplanes, and you never got thrown off an airplane. I called folks older than me Mr. and Mrs. Our values were part of our lives because we were taught values by our parents, by our teachers, and by our professors. So I offer you this charge today to go out in the world and be a part of it. Don't let anyone steal your values. It's the most important thing that you have. Control your own destiny. Don't get sucked into the pop experiment of the day. I have buried too many children from age 1 to middle ages who got sucked into the pop thing of the day and did not get out of it. Do not become a statistic. Do not be a follower, but be a leader. Don't be afraid to stand up to your boss and tell him about your values. He'll look at them. She'll look at them. They will understand them, and they will pull you up to them and train you to take their place, because they know you can learn anything you got through college. They know you can be a leader, but they like your values, because that's what makes you a leader. It is the most important part of your character. The world is at your fingertips. Go and involve yourself, immerse yourself in it. Let it become a part of you. Let it take over you. Get as much as you can out of the world. You are fortunate enough to live in the greatest country in the world. Mark none. With all our flaws and with all our problems, we always look ahead, and we build on the roots of the past. Tough times, now it's time for the quotes. Tough times make tough people. There are 3 kinds of people in the world. There are 3 kinds of people in the world. People who make things happen, people who watch things happen, and people who wonder what happened. You have a choice of being any one of the 3. Finally, do not forget your roots. Do not forget the people who helped you get where you are today and where you will be years for today. They are the ones who helped you become what you are today. Don't forget Sussex County. I know there's nothing to do up here. It's like the woman who walks up to the closet and goes, I got a closet of nothing to wear. We have everything up here. It's wonderful up here. That's why so many people are here. That's why you're still here. And you're going to go out there and you're going to experience and find other parts of the world and discover things. Good. Do it. But in the end, remember, this is where your roots are. And please feel free to come back here. We want you back here to help build this great county. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. Come back home. So I wish you Godspeed. God bless as you venture out into the world. Remember, we believe in you, all of you. Go get them.
Talk about a tough act to follow. Thank you, Freeholder Director Lazaro. Greetings, I'm Dr. James Baker. I'm the Interim Chief Academic Officer for Sussex County Community College. I want to celebrate with all of the students here your hard work, your determination, and your sacrifices as you move toward the goals on your journey. It is an honor and a true privilege to be standing here. Little did I know when Dr. Connolly called me in November of 2015 to come to Sussex County Community College that I would find such a working alongside the greatest faculty, staff, and student body anywhere. Thank you, Dr. Connolly, for making this journey possible. At this time, I want to ask all of the full-time, adjunct, and concurrent faculty to please stand. Let's give them a hand, please. Thank you. You may be seated. And now, at this time, I would like all of the staff members, both full-time and part-time, to please stand. Give them a hand, please. Thank all of you for your hard work. And now I want to leave you with two very important thoughts. First, in the words of Leonardo da Vinci, learning is the only thing the mind never exhausts, never fears, and never regrets. And finally, my reminder to you, today at this moment, we are living in yesterday's future. Thank you. Please join me in welcoming this year's faculty speaker, Assistant Professor of Accounting, Barbara Beaufort.
Good late afternoon, early evening. Before I start my speech, I'd like to ask a question. Does anybody know who won the soccer match today? Man United or Southampton? Does anybody in the crowd know? Man U? Okay. I'm a Southampton fan. All right, to start, friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. If that's the last thing we can do, we're going to try and get a little Shakespeare into you before you leave these hallowed halls. So, that's for the English people over there. I wanted to start out a little less formally. I just wanted to start out with dudes and dudettes. That doesn't work either. So I thought I'd go back to my roots. Hi, y'all. Welcome. So, I am speaking on the behalf of my fellow faculty members. Now, you might wonder who I am, because I would guess that probably 60% of the students haven't a clue who I am. Haven't seen me anywhere, don't know anything about me. Well, I have an office up in the E building, and every now and then they let me come down below, and then they send me back up. So tonight, I'm down below. I teach accounting, which is another reason why probably many of you don't know who I am. Because when most people say, you say, what do you do? I teach accounting. They all have this response. Oh. So, but how did I get up here? Well, we were having our faculty meeting at the end of last August, and the person in charge of that meeting said, well, who hasn't spoken for graduation yet? Now, I knew that there were about 6 or 7 other faculty members that hadn't spoken. So, silly me, I put up my hands, and they didn't. And the person who was in charge of that meeting, oh, we found our faculty speaker. So I just want to warn that person, who is Professor Stacy Golan, that when she comes out and finds her car TP'd, I didn't do it. So, all right. And you may be wondering about this. Well, I graduated in this early 74 from college. I went through Vietnam, I went through other things. I'm a little out there somewhere, I don't know where, even though I am an accountant. But the reason I wore this, because I've always felt that instead of wearing these goofy mortarboards, which we call a cap, I thought students should be sent out into the world with one of these. You could put your tassel on it. See, I don't have any problem with my tassel on it. And it's useful. How many of you plan next week to go to ShopRite wearing that cap that you're wearing now? None of, oh, well, good for you. So, I thought this would be excellent. One, it's useful. Those things about the only thing they're useful for is you go to the beach, they make great frisbees, you know. So, but this is useful, and also because I am an accountant, it's free advertising for the college. It says SCCC, so I think that way. So that's my introduction to my speech. Now for my speech, which because I'm an accountant, we tend to be very boring. There's nothing exciting about accountants. We don't like creativity. The last thing we want is a creative accountant. We just don't want them. So I have decided to tell you some important things you need to know as you leave SCCC. Now, first of all, I want to talk to the students who are planning to start their careers. However, for those of you who are going on for 2 years, don't forget what I'm saying, because it's going to be useful then. If your employer has a savings plan of some sort, a 401k, an IRA, even a credit unit, join it immediately. Money you don't see, you can't spend. So, put that money away. I have a little bit of a statistics for you, not much, but I am an accountant. There was recently an article in the Star Ledger that said 43% of working age families have no savings. That's frightening. And people 5 to 10 years from retirement, 39% of those people have no savings. So you people start saving when? As soon as you get enough extra cash to start putting it away, put it away. Trust me, you hit 65 way sooner than you think you would. I can say that because I'm old. I hit 65. I got 1 more year. The biggest insult that I got was they told me I had to sign up for Medicare. And I said, but I'm not ready for Medicare. I'm not that old yet. But I signed up. All right. For all of you graduates, use checks. Don't use debit cards. And you're all rolling your eyes and going, has she lost her mind? There's a reason for that. It's too easy to spend money with a debit card. But if you have to write a check, you have to think about, do I really want to spend this money or don't I want to spend this money? So, do that. Also, if you need cash, guess what you have to do? You have to drive to the bank. And on your way there, now you're thinking, do I really what? Need to spend this money or don't I need to spend it? 9 chances out of 10, you what? Don't need to spend the money. All right? There is direct deposit that helps in this, though I have to say I hate direct deposit. I used to have a bank 3 doors away from me. I could walk to it. They closed it. So now I have to go to Frieden, Hackettstown, or Bud Lake to get any money. I never get there. So you know what I'm living with in my wallet right now? I have 2 dogs. They go to the vet. They get their heartworm pills. I get these little credit cards, $12 rebate cards. So I have 2 of those right now. So that's what I have in my wallet right now. $24 in credit cards from the heartworm company, and that's going to keep me till I can finally get to the bank. But that's a good thing because I can only spend how much? Come on, some of you people are in my accounting classes. I can only spend what? 24 bucks, right? So therefore, that helps me out with the spending. If you don't have a checking account, get one. Now, banks are interesting places. They like to charge fees for everything. But if you are a college student or you're just going out into the world, you can really sit down with the bank and negotiate for fee-free checking, or if they don't have that, for a low minimum balance requirement. And if they aren't willing to give you that, just say, thanks you very much. There's a lot more banks in Sussex County. I'm moving on. 9 chances out of 10, they won't let you out of the door because they want your what? Business. All right? If you are leaving home, and this is really important, I spent 4 years 250 miles away from home. This is important. If you are leaving for college and going to be living in student housing, get a checking account at your parents' bank. Why? Well, there's this issue. When we hit to our teenage years, we become somewhat obnoxious. And by the time we graduate from college, we know that our parents aren't as stupid as we originally thought they were. So, but Mom and Dad, if you're going away to live in a dormitory, if you've been really kind of annoying, they're going, hallelujah, they're out of the house. But parents being parents, they still love you. And the reality is, you get that checking account at their bank, you take deposit slips, you put them in an envelope, you write on the front of it, deposit slips. You scotch tape it to the mirror in your bedroom. And then when you make that phone call home in about 6 weeks and you go, Mom, I'm really short for cash. Can you help me out? Mom's going, oh, my baby called. I need to help them out. The deposit slips are in an envelope stuck to the mirror, and Mom does what? Puts the money in the bank for you. Trust me, they will do it, because I've made those phone calls myself. Mom, things are bad down here. Can you do something for me? And Mom always, where's the deposit slips? She'd go, well, where are the deposit slips? Well, they were the same place they were last time I made this call, unless you moved them. So make sure you do that. Now, I have something to say to the parents who are sending your children off to student housing. I spent 4 years in a dormitory eating cafeteria food. They had something that they would make every now and then called Queen Anne's loaf. I don't know where they came up with that name, Queen Anne's loaf. If I think too much about that dessert nowadays, it still gives me indigestion. Ay, 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 it was the pits. So Mom and Dad, when you send your children off, supply them with gift certificates that can be used at restaurants. This is critical to their survival at college. There are times when you just need to get out and eat some real food. So look into things. Look at the restaurants in the area. Get them little ones. They'll love you forever for that one. And you'll become smarter a whole lot faster if they have that card every time they need something. So do that, parents, for your child. Because trust me, those of you who are going to live in a dorm, a few weeks after eating cafeteria food, it's the pits. Trust me. One night they served us a stew. There were 3 different types of French fries in it. There were the shoestring, there were the square, chunky ones, and there were the crinkle ones. And nobody could remember when they served us crinkle French fries. So I don't know how long they had been in the freezer. So please do this for your child. Now to the more serious nature of this speech, don't ever stop learning. You would be surprised what you can stuff in that brain of yours. It never once sends you a message, buy new memory space. It just keeps taking it and taking it. People kind of look at old folks and said, "Oh, they're cute, they can't remember anymore." No, that's not true. We remember just fine. We just got more stuff on our hard drive than you people do, and it takes longer for the computer to access it. So we're not stupid. We just have a slower access train. Also, what will keep America great? They say America, we need to make America great again. I'm of the opinion that America has never stopped being great. I think it's the greatest country in the world. All right? But what will keep us great is Americans who are critical thinkers. You will research reliable sources to find information before you take a position. Don't get your information from blobs and twits. And you're all going, wait a minute, doesn't she mean blogs and tweets? No, I've read them. They're blobs and twits. So get good information before you make a decision. I have two quotations for you, and then I want to end on a light note. One, this is a quotation from somebody called Blaise Pascal. He was a 17th century French mathematician and philosopher. And he said, and I may read this twice because I think it's important, people almost invariably arrive at their beliefs not on the basis of proof, but on the basis of what they find attractive. We cannot live our lives based on what we find attractive. We need to base our lives on what is proof. Secondly, a quotation. Those are the faculty over there. We're really into critical thinking. So, the second quotation was written by a woman in the late 1800s. My father made me memorize this quotation when I was in the 8th grade. And basically what she said was, what the world needs today are men and women who are thinkers and not mere reflectors of other people's thoughts. You need to be thinkers. You don't need to be reflectors. That is so important to keeping this country great. And finally, on the light note, for those of my students who've been in my class, they've heard this before. You want to know why faculty members are trying to get you a good education? We want to get you the best education we can so you can go out and get really good jobs, so you can start paying into Social Security, so we can retire. Thank you very much, and have a lovely graduation.
We are honored this year to welcome the student spokesperson from the class of 2017, Ms. Amelia Machetto.
We all have different stories, tales of how we got here, when we got here, why we got here, and where we're going. It is this last piece that is the most important. The differences in where we are going indicate the differences we are going to make in the world around us. In some way or another, each of us has proven that we intend to make a difference in the world, and here and now is where we start. Not only will our differences allow us to make unique changes to the world around us in the future, but also they have allowed us to influence each other. Throughout our time at Sussex County Community College, we have inevitably shaped those around us. As a class, we have grown, both individually and as a group. The beauty of being a graduating class of SCCC is that we do all have starkly different stories. While some of us have been traditional students who came in right after high school and are graduating at our 4th semester, there are others who came in later or finished faster. There are some students who have been here for an extended period of time so they can support themselves and even families financially. This is something extraordinarily unique to our college experience. Because of this type of diversity, we have learned to respect people's stories when they are different from our own. And we have learned that there are many different ways of accomplishing similar goals. The lessons I have learned as a student here at SCCC reach far beyond the classroom experience, and I'm sure that's true for many of you as well. These are the lessons I would like to encourage you to hold tightly to. The things we learned about ourselves and how to better interact with others are what will lead us to success in life. We will no longer be measured by how well we can pass a final exam, but rather how well we can positively impact our surroundings. Starting now, things are changing. Whether you are transferring or entering the workplace, the emphasis will be on the quality of our character. As we transition into the next season of our lives, we have to hold on to our personal development more than anything else. We are about to change the world. As we leave here, the responsibility to take charge and make changes becomes ours. Just as we entered this college with individual stories and goals, we will leave with individual stories and goals and begin to make new ones. Each graduate here this evening intends to carve out his or her own corner of the future, and this makes us a powerful class to be reckoned with. As we continue on to the paths we have created for ourselves, we are creating a more well-rounded world for future generations to enter into. Our differences have brought us here together, they have united us as a class, and they will allow us to reap a more impactful and advanced future. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. Richard A. Laveau has served as president of Bloomfield College in New Jersey since 2003. President Laveau is currently the chair of the New Jersey Council of Presidents, which represents 45 institutions of higher education in the state of New Jersey. Before coming to college at Bloomfield, he practiced law for 29 years and was a partner at the national law firm Drinker, Biddle, and Reith, LLP. Active in community affairs and in New Jersey higher education, Mr. Laveau served 25 years as a member of the Rutgers University Board of Trustees and also as its Board of Governors, including 3 years as the chair of the Board of Trustees and 2 years as the chair of the Board of Governors. He's also served as an adjunct member of the faculties of the Cornell Law School, Rutgers University, and, of course, as you would imagine, Bloomfield College. He's served on a special task force on the alignment of higher education programs and workforce development, which was created at the request of the governor. Mr. Laveau received his bachelor's degree with high distinction in political science from Rutgers College and earned his Juris Doctor with specialization in international affairs from the Cornell Law School. In 2000, he was awarded an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters from Rutgers University for his professional achievements and for his outstanding service to the institution. He served on the New Jersey State Opera Board and the Mountainside Health Foundation Board, so his palette of opportunities and service is really quite extensive. This also includes his service in the New Jersey Council on the Humanities. Relatively recently, Richard Laveau spoke to the state of New Jersey on the New Jersey Capitol Report, in which he observed that the difficult times we face for our republic and for the economy of this country are being exacerbated by the absence of a strategic approach to higher education. He conveyed that there's far too much headline chasing and electioneering in the development of policy. This reality is undermining our competitiveness in a hyper-competitive global marketplace. Fact is, there is nowhere to run and hide from our competitors, even though they're an ocean away. They will outproduce, they will outcreate, and they will outresource or outsource us if we do not develop coherency with rational, intentional, and planful higher education policy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to welcome Richard Laveau.
Thank you very much. One part of my background he did not mention is the last time I addressed a group this size, I was booed off a stage in Indonesia. I was talking to developers about the necessity for global environmental controls, and Indonesia, as you may know, is a country which still sets fire to its forests in order to develop the interior. So I will do my best to be more pleasing today. And I'm greatly honored to be invited by President Connolly to be here. And also it's a pleasure to share the stage with other distinguished members of your community, and in particular your board chair, Judge Parker, And in the distant past, she and I practiced law together. So it was a surprise to read her name on the list of board members, and I'm so delighted to see you again. You've heard a lot of wisdom already today, and you've heard people who've suggested various answers to difficult questions. And I'm not going to offer any answers, but I hope to give you some things to think about. You know, the former president of the Rockefeller Fund said, "A great education is one that leaves a lot to be desired." And of course, that's a play on words, but I hope to leave a lot to be desired, not only in the sense of not fulfilling you, but also to make you feel there's so much more to learn. And that's what a great education is about. In the distant past, when I attended events like this, I always remembered my own graduation, which took place 47 years ago. One of the most talked about books of that year was Alvin Toffler's Future Shock, a book that not only predicted likely changes in the future, but also warned of the impact that change would make in our lives. And if you've been reading the newspapers of just the last few days or just the blogs of the last few hours, there seems to be a dramatic change every few hours. Toffler warned that the speed of global change would not only disorient us, but that the pace of change would continue to accelerate, that would make us physically dizzy and emotionally sick. He called that sickness future shock. In that book, he offers a remarkably predictive future, and he was one of the first futurists to be recognized as such in the United States. He predicted, for example, interactive computer-based communications, which anticipated the internet, email, and social media. He also anticipated genetic engineering, then in its infancy, and the possibility of cloning. He discussed the increasing consumerism and a world in which people could shop all day long, anticipating Amazon, which of course in 1970 did not exist. He also anticipated, less cheerfully, the decline and perhaps even, as he called it, the destruction of the nuclear family, in which children are not raised by single parents or in single families, but are communal responsibilities, and anticipated the decline and destruction of marriage, and even predicted the broad acceptability of same-sex marriage, which in 1970 caused a lot of people to raise their eyebrows, and today, of course, has come to pass. And despite the fact that his predictions about the future changes in biology would make great differences in our society, 8 years after the book was published, Louise Brown was born, the first baby of in vitro fertilization, a so-called test tube baby. So as I go through this set of remarks today, I want to bring the theme of change and what change means to us through some of the academic disciplines you have studied. And I'm starting with biology. After Louise Brown was born, skip 40 years ago to this morning. For those of you who have not had an opportunity to read it, I recommend you find a copy of today's New York Times, which reports on researchers located in Japan have found a way to do the following with the human genome. They have taken skin cells from the tails of rats, turned those skin cells into sex cells, that is, monocloid cells with only one set of chromosomes in each cell, made one cell male and one cell female. In other words, they've created an egg and a sperm cell out of tail cells and mated the two. And now on their third generation of rats from those tail cells. Of course, we're talking about animals that are not that different from mankind. And it was predicted at Kyushu University, where these experiments were taken, that in no more than 10 years, and certainly no more than 20 years, this technology will be applied in human experiments. And if you haven't heard about it, it's called IVG, in vitro gametogenesis. And it fosters on us the thought of how many things will change if that comes to pass. We can only speculate what will happen. One person can be the parent and the parents of offspring. It could be either a man or a woman whose cells become sex differentiated in the laboratory. Or two pairs of men. One may offer the female cell and one may offer the male cell, and two men become the biological father and mother of the child. Or two women, for that matter. Or indeed, as was pointed out in the report from Japan, 4 individuals, 2 couples, each generate enough cells to create 2 embryos, and those 2 embryos have their cells converted so that a 3rd generation is built. That one person from the 3rd generation essentially has 6 parents. So what do we do about that as a society? What do we do about that in terms of legal obligations of support, custody responsibility, tax law, the important question many of you will face, who gets the deduction? Limitation on the number of children if embryo farms get established and a small group of people can generate thousands of offspring. What does it mean in terms of breeding embryos, breeding good qualities in, bad qualities out? And one of the comments was the Brad Pitt dilemma. What about people who want to buy cells from particular athletes or stars and create a set of individuals who are genetically identical? How close are we to the matrix? And what happens to our religious and spiritual values based on the family? What happens to questions of the soul of the individuals, to individuals who are raised to specifications not determined by chance? Toffler's warning was the need to recast education so that we can accept change, to learn how to learn how to unlearn, and relearn without sacrificing our core moral and ethical values. It's increasingly obvious that in order to succeed in your future employment, adaptability to change is one area that you must master, including this example which I give because I read about it this morning and it struck me. I can't think of very many other developments, including the development of the internet, that can so radically transform human life on this planet. And yet it's something that, if it happens in 20 years, you will need to face it. I will not. I'm 70 years of age. In 20 years, I'm not going to worry about that. But you will. And what do you do about it? Let me talk a little bit about surviving in a time of change. And that takes a little explanation. Let me quote from another work that's important for us to remember, and that is from 1991, Terminator 2, one of the great movies of all times. The quote at the end is, "There's no fate but what we make." Do you remember that? It was carved in the table at the end. Maybe I'm a little bit older and you don't remember Terminator 2. You're up to Terminator 4 or 5, whatever the hell it is now. But Terminator 2, that was the end of that Terminator. And that is the notion that what you do determines your fate and the fate of others. In contradistinction to that, we have another famous science fiction series called Star Wars, and yet another Star Wars is coming out. And if you think about it, it's the exact opposite theory in Star Wars, and that is there is the Force, a universal, unchanging, sometimes invisible, sometimes powerful omnipresence. The search for truth is the search to understand the mystery rather than the choice to create a new future. And the reason I mention that is the theme of what we're going to be looking at as active or passive individuals in the future. What were these people talking about? Let's start with the notion of the Star Wars static universe, where the search for truth is the search to uncover universal and timeless truths. In that kind of world, no change is necessary or even possible, or even permitted. Through much of human development, there was the sense that the world is unchanging. And indeed, in some forms of strict religious fundamentalism, it is argued that the search for truth is accomplished only through increasingly careful and ornate studies of ancient texts. And those of you who have studied religion are well aware of what I'm talking about. This view is not limited to ancient society, but indeed in this country, up through the 1800s, and I'll mention this with respect to Presbyterianism, since my college is formerly a Presbyterian seminary. In the 1800s, the leading Presbyterian seminary in the world was at Princeton. It still is, the Princeton Theological Seminary. And the president of that, who served for 30 years as the president in the 1800s, was a man named Charles Hodge. And when he retired, he proudly announced that during his 30 years of leadership, the seminary had not come up with a single new idea, which he regarded as a great sense of praise, because they were not distracted by new thinking. They were looking more and more ornately and deeply into timeless truths. And yet today, if we were to say that, we think the speaker was crazy. And indeed, there are religions around the world, and some of us can mention extremists in the Taliban, for example, whose belief that anyone who brings anything new into the world is creating a disruption and creating an insult to God. And you may remember the Taliban went through the great artworks of Afghanistan, destroying them, because they regarded great artworks that were not a part of their good book was a challenge and an offense in the eyes of God. But if you believe in the possibility of history, and by that I mean things can change, history is not only the subject of the past, it's the belief that the future can be different and that we can make history. Sometimes we need to focus on how we can make that happen. On the Terminator side, there is no fate other than what we make. But dealing with human choice has a very troubled history. And since this is a collegiate event, I'm going to stop talking about Hollywood movies for a minute and talk about some great books. And many of these books have motivated generations of students. And for those of you who are left interested, I hope you will look them up. One of them is by an Italian author whose name had a funny name. His name was Pico, P-I-C-O. The full name was longer. It was very mellifluous. It was a typical Italian name, Giovanni Pico della Mirandola. But Pico wrote that from a religious point of view, since he was a very religious man, God's creation was a chain that went from the highest, the angels, to the lowest chain, which were worms, as he called it, or beasts, as he called it. Depends how you translate the Italian. And Pico argued that only man is not on the chain. Man can rise and fall on that chain depending upon his choice. And Pico said man can be greater than the angels because if he acts like an angel, he has the choice not to. Angels have no choice. They have to act like angels. But if you make the choice, you rise above the angels. But man can also sink below the beasts. Beasts have no choice. They act like beasts. But man has the choice to act below beasts. And so from the point of view of the religious perspective, the choice and the ability to form yourself is a critical part of what educated people should be doing. But we move from religion to modern philosophy, for those of you who've taken any courses in philosophy. And what you've just heard written by Pico, and by the way, the Pico book was written 8 years before Columbus sailed for America. So it's a 1486 book. If you look at the modern philosophy that we know today as existentialism, the same theory applies. And that is, your acts define who you are. Your choice makes you who you are. And the argument that Sartre made, Jean-Paul Sartre, the great existentialist, some of us remember him very well who were alive when he was writing and touring and speaking, was essentially to the point, you have no essence, you have no meaning until you act, because your acts define you. Now, that may seem particularly offensive if you regard us as having been made in God's image. If you believe that what we are here to do is to obtain God's grace to save us, or to obtain expiation of our sins, expiation from the original sin of Adam and Eve. But that was what Sartre believed, and that became a major argument throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s in philosophy. So you can imagine how aggrieved and difficult it was for people to accept choice as not only doing good things or not doing good things, but defining yourself. Now we move to another area, from philosophy to sociology. And let me just say this. 2 years ago, I had a chance to welcome the president of a major university in Peru who spoke most of his speech in Spanish. And because it was being translated, it ran much too long. And every time he paused, there was a round of applause. So, let me just urge you to consider a lifelong learning adventure, irrespective of what subject matter you're looking at. The source of great pleasure is learning. Almost every summer, people travel to many locations to take courses. I hope you do as well. But my final piece of advice to you is to save a small corner of your lives for quiet time. We are bombarded with demands on our time. Turn off the cell phone. Turn off the iPod. Power down your tablet. It is estimated that in the world, 2.4 billion robocalls are placed and received every month. It is impossible to hear yourself think or to think deep and difficult thoughts if you're constantly surrounded by hucksters, shouters, and phonies. Think about genuine things, things that matter to you, to your family, to your children, to your society, and become a fully integrated and participating individual. And do so not only with clarity, cleverness, and intelligence, but do so with warmth and love in your hearts. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, thank you, Richard. It's so good to see you. We run into each other once every 10 years or so and catch up, but I'm so delighted to have him here this evening to have been our keynote speaker. One of my favorite writers is Maya Angelou, a little more contemporary. She overcame incredible odds to become an award-winning writer, the country's poet laureate, and an esteemed teacher. Maya Angelou said that making a living is not the same thing as making a life. Many of you have overcome incredible odds to be here today, and we are so proud of you for having the stick-to-itiveness to be here where you are tonight. We here, yes, applaud yourselves, you should. We here at Sussex County Community College spend a great deal of time and energy talking about student success, teaching our students the skills, the technical training, reading, writing, and even arithmetic to make a living in the 21st century. But are we teaching our students to make a life as well? What does that mean, to make a life? Does it mean having a spouse, 2.5 children, 1.2 dogs, and 2 cars in the garage? Does it mean being rich and famous? Does it mean being poor and infamous? Of course not. The question really is, what does making a life mean to you? Here's what it means to me. Do what you love and love yourself doing it. Find what makes you feel good about yourself. What makes you feel worthwhile? What makes you glad to get up in the morning? What makes your heart sing? If you are not happy with what's going on in your life, it's time to think about how to change it and make your life more consistent with what you love to do and love of yourself doing it. Does that mean dropping something as soon as you have difficulty with it? Giving up when greater effort is required to accomplish a goal? Does it mean avoiding all bumps in the road so it doesn't get too hard to reach your goals? Of course not. Does it mean being a surfer dude or a ski bum? Maybe, if you can sustain yourself and feel good about doing that yourself. Does it mean working your tail off to get through med school or law school to establish a professional life? Maybe, if that's your heart's desire. Does it mean being stuck with whatever choices you made at a different time in your life? Maybe, until you change your course. What does making a life mean to you? Another one of my favorite writers, this one not quite so esoteric as the writers cited by Mr. Laveau, Theodore Geisel, who is better known as Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss is one of my favorite writers because he writes with great wit and great style. Is there anybody here who doesn't know Dr. Seuss? Good, because then you'll really appreciate this. Dr. Seuss tells us, when you're on your graduation day and you're on the threshold of a new stage of your lives, you're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any course you choose. You're on your own, you know what you know. and you are the one who will decide where you go. You'll look up and down streets, look over them with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. You may find not any you'll want to go down. In that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's opener there in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do to people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. You'll start happening too. You'll be on your way up. You'll start seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to the heights. Wherever you fly, you'll be best of the best. Wherever you go, you'll top all the rest, except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say, but sadly it's true, that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You'll come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place you could sprain both your elbow and chin. Do you dare to stay out? Do you dare to go in? And if you go in, should you turn left or right? Or right and 3/4? Or maybe not quite. You can get so confused that you'll start to race down long wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place. No, that's not for you. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange things as you go. So be sure when you step to step with great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. And will you succeed? Yes, you will indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. So get out there, make a living, make a life, and contribute to the Alumni Association. Congratulations.
All right, here we go. Here we go. I call upon the academic chief academic officer, Dr. James Baker, to recommend the candidates for the training certificates, the professional certificates, and the Associate in Arts, the Associate in Science, the Associate in Applied Science, and the Associate in Fine Arts degrees.
Will the candidates for the training certificates please rise? President Conley, I present to you the candidates for the training certificates in medical assistant. I certify on behalf of the departmental faculty and the staff that all candidates have successfully completed the candidacy requirements for their respective certificates.
On the recommendation of the departmental faculty and by the authority vested in me by the state of New Jersey and by the college's Board of Trustees, I confer on each of you who has completed the requirements in full a certificate with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Morgan A. Appel Wilmoth. Anna Jocelyn Concepcion. J.C. Monique Demarest. Patricia Ann Demarest. Evelyn Paula Montatonero. Rebecca Marie Reaver. Mona Salerno. Faith Destiny Scott. Christina R. Space.
Will the candidates for the professional certificates, the Associate in Arts, the Associate in Science, the Associate in Applied Science, and the Associate in Fine Arts degrees please rise and remain standing? President Conley, I present to you the candidates for the professional certificates, the Associate in Arts, the Associate in Science, the Associate in Applied Science, and the Associate in Fine Arts, and I certify on behalf of the faculty that all candidates have successfully completed the academic or candidacy requirements for their respective certificates or degrees.
On the recommendation of the faculty and by the authority vested in me by the State of New Jersey and by the college's Board of Trustees, I confer on each of you who have completed the requirements in full, the professional certificate or associate degree with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Graduates, please be seated.
Amelia Carlin Machado. Madeline Rita Abadamalco. Stephanie Renee Amod. Kristen Rihanna Ali. Vanessa Jennifer Anderson. Jeffrey S. Angati. Jake Richard Aponte. Matthew Colin Ingentar. Melissa Ruth Ben Shen Avenda. Shireen Zenith Barry. Phil Paul Angentar. Thank you. Brianna Catherine Benecki. John Theodore Bronowski. Cameron Ross Blake. Pamela Nicole Blauvelt. Jason Paul Lorenz Baum. Samantha Ariel Bolicki. Tyler Lewis Bowman. Justin Daniel Boley. Shannon Brooke Brennan. Andrew Michael Brown. William Thomas Bulger IV. Thank you. Amanda Jane Bolwin. Michael Angela Costella. Stephen Michael Cara. Jeffrey Martin Chandler. Shelby Celeste Chapman. Eric Paul Checker. Kenneth Adam Klink. Alexander Michael Kochichias. Thank you. Yay. Rachel Ann Condit. Thank you. Victoria Mary Conley. Gabriella Isabel Conte. Robert Harrison Cooper. Raquel Concepcion Cordero. Jordan Samantha Crater. Emma Macy Casati. Michelle Seiko Davis. Danielle Patricia DiSepoli. Deborah DeFeo. Aaron Jacob Dilbury. How are you? Ingrid Gail DeLisa. Krishna Tushwash Desai. Seth Elijah DeVita. Gina Marie DeCristo. Erin Elizabeth Domino. Daniel Elizabeth Doce. Maureen Elizabeth Douglas. Carl Robert Doma, Jr. Jessica Dowd. Jocelyn Duray. Dominique and Kika Durani. Sierra Beth Duco. Paul Duranicki. Jesse Michael Eddings. Thank you. Carly Aaron Edison. Alicia Ann Anger. Sarah Mae Fairweather. Karen Irene Falk. Okay. Sarah Cheyenne Faulkner. Cynthia Marie Fasalo. Peter William Ferroni Jr. Constance Marie Featherman. Oh, my God. Jessica L. Weiss. Julia Margaret Finan. Jonathan Mark Finocchiaro. Heather Lynn 4G. Michael Joseph Foster. Sarah Jessica Freericks. Jennifer Ann Gablutz. Jacob John Gallagher. Shane Joseph Galicchio. Jennifer Michelle Gallo. Hi. Joshua T. Gallo. Vincent John Gallo III. Helmut Andres Garcia Panagote. Anne Marie Rose Giannini. Samantha J. Glosser. Andrew M. Galuski. Pierre Gott. Jordan Alexis Greshak. Mirinda Lynn Grosecki. Morgan Ryan Hagan. Caitlin Elizabeth Hambright. Alexandra H. Hansen. Colette Adriana Hansen. Dina Lynn Goget. Siraj Amand Haripushad. Amanda Rhonda Headley. Kristen Aaron Henry. Stephen Daniel Henry. Mirinda Claire Hill. Anita L. Horn. Alina Noel Hull. Okay, and Michelle Ingracia. Anthony John Ippolito. Nancy R. Hara Vargas. Matthew James Jimensis. Sarah Catherine Johnson. Lonnie T. Joyce. Daniel Carden. Daniel James Karpowicz. Rita Ann Keene. Melissa E. Kemeny. Megan Lee Kennedy. Brianna Lynn Kimberly. Rebecca Lynn Knoll. Quinn Christian Kramer. Dustin P. Kaisa. Christopher Stephen Kubik. Jeffrey Robert Kuchta, Jr. Thank you. Kevin Thomas Kometz. Jacob A. Lazar. Bill.
Pablo Lurch. Lorianne Lito. Fatima Lilo. Ryan Stephen Linder. Ariana Noel Literal. Sean Walter Lockwood. Megan Elizabeth Rose Logue. Sarah Rose Losey. Denise Estrella Marcias. Julio Medini. Justin Matthew Madden. Julio Alexander Madonna Ortega. Robert Capuno Kai Io A Maike Marciano. Freddie Marcinkowski. Gabrielle Marie Martinez. Christopher Michael Mason. Edwin R. Maita. Michael A. Matacione. Brittany Carolyn Mattia. Callum Ross McCauley. Matthew Gerald McAvoy. Sean Tyler McCann. Michael P. McCurry. James Joseph McGee. Adam John McGovern. Emily Mae McCain. Grace Catherine McLaughlin. Jonathan Abraham Mecca. Kelly Francis Memolo. Jason Paul Mercurio. Jessica Marie Messias. Derek Ian Meyer. Grace Alice Maselli. Michelle Lorraine Mielko. Kristen Millar. Noel Lee Mooney. Jennifer Lynn Moore. Ryan William Neal. David Ng Lee. Rachel Margaret Orr. Vincent Pagluccio. Tyler John Parkin. Jillian Marie Pellinger. Lisa Catherine Perosi. Rachel Ann Perry. Barbara S. Peterson. Michael Petrasek. Jacob B. Piccolo. David Paul Isaac Pluvois. Nicholas M. Pollock. Ryan James Prendergast. Alyssa May Preziosi. Joshua Raymond Price. Jared Daniel Jesus Quintero. Megan Rose Reed. Yvonne Reyes. Joseph Michael Rigatti. Jade Marie Riker. Suhar Safari. Erin Nicole Sanders. Olivia Ann Salvatera. Rosa Angelica Sanchez Perez. Carly Christine Sanders. Alexandra Michelle Sanford. Angie Elena Santa Cruz. Courtney Elizabeth Savarese. Paula M. Shire. Jacqueline Nicole Schieffer. Jonathan M. Schutz. Vincenzo Frank Sebastiano. Michael F. Cicero III. Catherine Renee Sherman. Holbert Mathis Sibbles III. Justin Emmanuel Sibley's. Jamie Lynn Sika. Jessica Joyce Sinfield. Erica Lynn Cisco. Katerina Linda Slaska. Sierra Nicole Slate. Jennifer Louise Slater. Katie Lynn Swisshelm. Karen Ashley Smith. Brandon Thomas Soden. Ariel Angeline Stampone. Catherine Elizabeth Stansfield. Ryan Anthony Sumsky. Allison June Thorne. Matthew Daniel Titus. Juana M. Trainer. Thank you. Robert Carlton Tremaine. Matthew Turek. Taylor Ashley Turkington. Maxwell Richard Unrath. Brittany Lynn Vanderplug. Garrett Luke Vandersluis. Alexis Marie Van Duzer. Samantha Ann Van Horn. Taylor Nicole Van Noort. Lauren Catherine Vasquez. Allison Nicole Van Etten. John Jeffrey Vuz. Mark Vincent Walsh, Jr. Sharon Kathleen Warwica. Diana Victoria Watch. Abigail Whitney Way. Brody Austin Wecht. Sarah Ann Welsh. Nikki Elisa Wilkins. Kaylee Megan Winfield. Teresa Wish. Corinne Woodhead. Take a look. Holly Woods. Angela Christine Wyckoff. Cassidy Joanna Zaruba. Joanne Zerna. Ali Ziabash.
All right. Another round. Will the graduates please stand for a bit? As graduates of Sussex County Community College, you represent not only yourselves and your families, but also the values of this county and this college. Freeholder Director Carl Lazaro spoke about values and how important they are today. You have joined in the fellowship of lifelong learners and are therefore ambassadors for that which is essential to the preservation of our American Republic: critical analysis of problems, informed decision-making, and ethical action. May you also, as a county resident, in the words of Abraham Lincoln from his second inaugural address, show malice towards none and charity towards all in your private and civic works. And now, you may shift your tassels from right to left. Congratulations to you all. The applause that you deserve you have heard. Please be seated.
Will all guests please remain in their places until the procession has passed? I now declare the 30th commencement exercises of Sussex County Community College closed. Ita in pace et in caritate. Go in peace and in love.